Hello, everybody. This is Eliakim Cohen live with another amazing episode of Shiurim by the Sea. This one in particular is if you wear a toupee, I would hold it the entire time I'm doing this lecture because it will blow up. This topic is my favorite topic to do. I've done so many different lectures that revolve around this topic. My sponsor for this, when I always ask my sponsors, and Baruch Hashem, I've gotten 7 in the last few days because people see that it's working. Someone started keeping Shabbos because of one of my lectures. People want to get involved in good mitzvahs. And like the Chafetz Chaim says, that every hour of Torah learning is 60,000 mitzvot. Most of my lectures average, 5, 6, 7,000 viewers. That's hundreds of thousands and millions of mitzvot. So this person, he said last week, I really want to sponsor a lecture. I said, great. Is there any particular topic that you are interested in? He said, yes, the book of Daniel. Well, the book of Daniel is chock full with information on the end of days, right? My favorite topic is the end of times. There is so much stuff. Every single person on the earth, it doesn't matter what religion or cult everyone wants to know what's coming. Well, as Jews, we sort of do know what's coming. We don't know the little details, we don't know the exact whatever, but we do know enough. And at the end of this lecture, you will know more than you've ever known before, I can guarantee that. I asked this person, do you want me to do this lecture in honor of someone or in memory of someone? This is what he wrote. It was very touching. He said, not at the moment. Very grateful for you, meaning me, and how Hashem has used you in my life, meaning like brought me to your life. I can't wait to hear the lecture. I'm expecting pure fire. It's very touching. People are given parnasa, money from Hashem. What people do with that money basically shows Hashem what matters to them the most. So if you're doing terrible things with your tzedakah money, I did a whole lecture on this last week. You have to give between 10 and 20% of your earnings to tzedakah every single month. You are obligated to do that. It's not a suggestion. It is an obligation. When people want to sponsor my Torah lectures, whether it's for themselves or for a loved one or for someone's refuah shalema, it's really meaningful to me. They could be spending this money on anything, but they want to hear the Torah that I spend a lot of time learning and preparing. I want to mention a permanent sponsor, Apex Custom. Did a whole lecture last week on the importance of clothing in Judaism and why we don't mix wool and linen. These are 2 really, really amazing Jews, both made Aliyah, and they heard that I'm coming out with my own Torah foundation, a Kiru foundation, where we're going to basically spend day and night trying to bring Jews closer to God, doing more mitzvot, learning more Torah. And they said, we will gift you a suit. This is a brand new company. It is really mind-blowing. You go to their website, apexcustomwithak.com. You click on fitted suit, and you're literally being given instructions by like a computer over your phone. They tell you to stand this way and to stand this way, and they end up coming out with an amazing custom suit. They said, what do you want? Colors? I said, I trust you. I want to look pretty enough that Disney could use me in one of their woke remakes that loses hundreds of millions of dollars, to be like the princess or something. That's how good that I want to look. So I want to thank Apex Custom. And we'll be doing a lot more with them in the future. For a company to want to sponsor Torah means a lot. These are the companies you should be supporting. Okay? This topic is absolutely mind-blowing. It is the book of Daniel mixed with the famous Pesach song of Chad Gadya, that we sing at the end of the Pesach Seder. And what is going to happen to the Jewish people and befall the nations at the end of times. This is basically a mix of 3 really, really fascinating topics. And like everything else in Judaism, I could do lectures for the rest of my life about the book of Daniel and never even scratch the surface. So we're only going to focus on 2 parts of the book of Daniel that are basically germane to this topic. The book of Daniel is famous for many, many reasons. You know, Daniel gets thrown into the lion's den, a lot of different things. Two things that happen in the book of Daniel that are very, very fascinating are that Nebuchadnezzar, you know, the king of Babylon, has a dream. And only Daniel can interpret it. Then Daniel himself sees a vision. So we're going to be focusing on chapters 2 and chapter 7. So if anyone wants to right now, get out, you know, either the book of Daniel on your phone or whatever, or maybe you have one at home. Chapters 2 and chapter 7 are what we're going to be focusing on. I'm going to try to get through this part a little bit faster because it's what becomes of these two sections that is really the ikar of the shir. And I am telling you, if you're coming in late, if you're even watching from the beginning, watch this lecture 1, 2, 3, 4 times. This is basically going to be the future. We don't know the ins and outs, we don't know the details, but rabbis have been talking about this for so many years. I've listened to, I'm not saying this to brag, I don't know of many people that have listened to more lectures on the end of times. I mean, I know every single rabbi basically in the world that has given lectures on this. It's my favorite topic for a reason. This is exciting stuff. Why? Because we are clearly living in the end of days. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know when the war of Gog and Magog, I just did a share on that last week. We don't know when these things are going to happen. What we do know is that we are close. All of the events and signs, they're all coalescing at the same time. What exactly is in Sefer Daniel that's so exciting? Chapter 2, okay? Chapter 2, verse 28. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets. He lets King Nebuchadnezzar know what will be at the end of days. Okay? So when anyone wants to question, Judaism says that the world will last no more than 6,000 years, right? It's 1,000 years for every day of creation. There were 6 days of creation, and then there was Shabbos. Okay? As Jews, we don't believe. We know that the world will not last more than 6,000 years. It is 1,000 years for every day of creation. So we are now in the year 5,785. Okay? The world will not last more than 6,000 years. At some point, the Messiah will come before those 6,000 years, and those are called the days of Mashiach. After that point, the world will end, and a new world will be created for the righteous. That's just how the world works. I don't care if you believe me, you've heard differently, it doesn't matter. I am telling you just the truth. You can accept it, you can fight it. That's not relevant at this point. The world will last no more than 6,000 years. At some point, the Jewish Messiah will come. That Jewish Messiah is not Jesus or any other cult or religion out there. That the Jewish Messiah will come. It will be a descendant of the King of David. You will also learn that there are actually 2 Mashiachs in this lecture. The world will at some point end. God will renew the world, and the righteous people will live forever. Jews and non-Jews. It's not exclusively just Jews. Non-Jews also will be rewarded for being good in life, right? Is following idolatry good in life? No. So that's a big problem for there's some very righteous Gentiles out there. Unfortunately, a lot of them believe in something that is totally not only antithetical to Judaism, but basically idolatry. Chapter 2, verse 28, Daniel literally says, God will let Nebuchadnezzar know what will be at the end of days. It doesn't say at the end of his days, meaning I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in your life. It refers to the end of days. Where else do we see this? When Jacob, is blessing his sons, right before he gives them the bracha, right before he starts with Ruvain, he says, gather around my sons, and I will let you know what happens at the end of times. But then he stops. He doesn't get to that point. But clearly there is something about the end of days. It is, people say, oh, I don't, show me what's in the Torah or the Bible. Don't tell me what rabbis say. Fine, I just did. This is stuff that is literally in the Torah and now in the book of Daniel, which is the Tanach, the 24 books of the Bible, of the Hebrew Bible. There is a concept of the end of days because there will be an end of days. When it is, the exact date, nobody knows. Nobody knows. But we know that we're close because we are at the year 5785 in the Jewish calendar, out of 6,000. Okay? The Rambam and many others say that the Messiah has to come, 210 years before. 210 years before is literally in 5 years, right? So I'm not going to get into what every different rabbi says. That's not relevant to the topic. But we are clearly in the end of days. There is clearly a mention of the end of days in the Torah and in the Tanach, but specifically in the book of Daniel. Okay? This is a very, very famous 2 sections of the book of Daniel that we're going to delve into today. So I'm going to try to get through this fast. So I'm just going to read. I'll add a little bit of commentary, but I'm going to read these 2 sections because they're basically, one and the same. They're referring to the same exact topic. Okay? So let's start again. There's a God in heaven who reveals secrets. He lets King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, the first king that, exiled the Jews, destroyed the first temple. He lets King Nebuchadnezzar know what will be at the end of days. That is your dream and the visions of your head on your bed. O king, you were watching, and behold, one great image, an image with a large base, and with unusual splendor, was standing opposite you. Its form was frightening. This is from verse 31, 32, and 3 that I'm going to read. I'm not going to read every single verse in chapter 2 and 7, just the ones that are, relevant. The image had a head of fine gold. Okay, this is the part you need to. There's a head of gold. Its breasts and arms were of silver. Okay, so the top is gold, the breast and the arms are of silver. Its belly and thighs were of copper. Its legs were of iron, and its feet were partly of iron and partly of clay. And you're thinking, what? What are you talking about? Okay? Nebuchadnezzar sees an image. This image is, Daniel says, it's a great image. And it's of unusual splendor. Okay, so this was a very memorable dream. Obviously it is if it's in the Tanakh. There's a head of gold. There is a basically breast like the chest, and the arms were silver. The thighs were of, the belly and the thighs were of copper. The legs were of iron, and the feet were of iron and clay. So we have 5 different things being discussed here. Head, chest and arms, belly and thighs, legs, and then feet. Okay, so there's 5 different things being discussed. You were watching until one stone was hewn without hands, and it struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and crumbled them. Then the iron, the clay, the copper, the silver, and the gold crumbled together. And they were like chaff, like wheat on the threshing floor of the summer. And the wind carried them off. There was no place for them. And the stone that struck the image became a huge mountain that filled the entire earth. That's powerful. I'm sure some of you are thinking, okay, I feel like I can decipher this myself. The stone is the Jewish people, right? Without hands, the stone, something hits this really big, splendorous statue. Image. An image. And it destroys everything. But it specifically hits the feet first. Doesn't say, like David and Goliath. It was thrown at the head and it killed him. This specifically says one stone was hewn without hands and it struck the image on its feet. And from that, everything crumbled going up. So the description of this image that Nebuchadnezzar is seeing is starting from the top, right? It's a head of gold. This part is silver. Belly and the thighs are copper. Then the legs are iron. And then the feet are half iron and half clay, right? So the description is going from top to bottom. But the stone that hits this image hits the iron and the clay feet. And then just, like you ever seen these controlled demolitions of like a casino in Las Vegas, it just like implodes and just goes boom, boom, boom. Well, where do they blow it up from? They blow it up from the bottom, and then everything just implodes on top of it. Then the iron, the clay, and the copper, and the silver, and the gold, it's going up. We're like chaff, like they're just like sand, just nothingness, just blown away by the wind. Okay? So that's the image that Nebuchadnezzar sees. Nebuchadnezzar sees this image. Nobody can decipher the image until Daniel comes. This is like the whole, first part. He sees an image, and no one's able to decipher it. It's just like Paro, right? It's the same. Do you see the same, like, synergy here? Paro had a dream. He went to all the different, necromancers and whatever in Egypt, and no one was able to decipher it until the Jew came. Nebuchadnezzar, same thing, has this dream. He's like tormented by this dream. Doesn't understand it. And no one's able to tell him. All the wise people of Babylon, he's threatening to kill everyone, to kill the Jews, everything. And then Daniel comes and says, no, this is what your dream means. He says to Nebuchadnezzar, you are the head. You are the gold. Right? We'll get to that part in a minute. Then, in chapter 7, Daniel has a dream. Or a vision. Daniel raised his voice and said, I saw in my vision during the night, and behold, the four winds of heavens were stirring up the great sea. And four huge beasts were coming out of the sea, each one different from the other. Okay? Again, we see four. Really, in the first part, there's four main things that it's talking about. The feet are connected to the legs. I just tried to tell you that there's five different entities because the fact that one is iron and one is clay is going to be very, very necessary for you, as this lecture goes on. But there's really four entities. There's the head, the body, the waist and the thighs, and then the legs, which include the feet. So that's four. Okay? We're going to talk about fours a lot in this lecture. Then Daniel, in chapter 7, he sees a vision. The first one was Nebuchadnezzar. This one is now Daniel's. Okay? Daniel raised his voice and said, I saw in my vision during the night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens, again four, were stirring up the great sea. And four huge beasts were coming out of the sea, each one different from the other. The first of these four beasts that came up from this water, from the great sea, as it says, was like a lion. And it had the wings of an eagle, until its wings were plucked, and it was taken from the earth, and it stood on feet like man, and the heart of a mortal was given it. Okay? Number 2, and behold, another second beast resembling a bear, and it stood to one side, and there were 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And so did they say to it, get up, eat much meat. After this, I saw, and behold, another one like a leopard, right? We had the lion, we had the bear, now we have a leopard. And it had 4 wings of a bird on its back. And the beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given it. After this, I saw in the visions of the night, and behold, a 4th beast, awesome and dreadful and exceedingly strong. And it had huge iron teeth. It ate and crushed and trampled the rest with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before me, and it had 10 horns. These huge beasts, he said, these huge beasts, which are 4 kingdoms which will arise from the earth. This is verse 17. And the high holy ones will receive the kingdom, and they will inherit the kingdom forever and to all eternity. This is now referring to the Jewish people. So he said, the 4th beast represents a 4th kingdom that will be on earth. which will be different from all the kingdoms, and it will devour the whole land and trample it and crush it. Then it skips a little bit. He will speak words against the Most High, and he will oppress the high holy ones, and he will think to change the times in the law, and they will be delivered into his hand until a time, 2 times, and a half a time. And the judgment shall be established, and they will remove his dominion to be destroyed and annihilated until the end. And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdoms under all heavens will be given to the people of the high holy ones, the Jewish people. Its kingdom is a perpetual kingdom, and all dominions will serve and obey. Okay? Daniel has a vision at night. He sees 4 beasts, but they're not really 4. They are 3 and then they're 1. He saw 3 beasts on one night, and it says he saw the 4th beast on a different night. The 4th beast is the one we're focusing on. The first 3 beasts are the lion, the bear, and then the leopard. The 4th beast is doesn't even say what it is. It's not even an animal. It's just a beast. It's awesome and dreadful and exceedingly strong. Had huge iron teeth, it ate and crushed and trampled the rest with its feet. And it was different from all the beasts that were before me. And it had 10 horns. Let's try to decipher parts of these dreams before we get to the ikar of this lecture, because this is important. What is the lion? Right? Who is the lion? Right? We said that Nebuchadnezzar was the head, the gold head. That's what Daniel told him. You are the head. Meaning Nebuchadnezzar learned that the dream that he had with this one image that he saw, gold, silver, copper, iron, and then iron and clay feet, he was told he's the head, right? The head is the most like chashuva part of a person, right? I mean, you can live without a foot. You cannot live without a head, right? So Nebuchadnezzar realizes that from Daniel that he's something special. He's the first, right? So these 4 things are referring to 4 different exiles. It even says it. These are 4 exiles that the Jewish people will endure. And every time you see something 4 in the Torah, it refers to these 4 exiles. We're going to get to that in a second. But they're not 4. That's going to be the whole ikar of this lecture. They're actually 8. And it's the key to unlocking Chad Gadya, and it's the key to unlocking the whole end of times and figuring out who wins in the end and who we're fighting at the end, right? Because seemingly now, there's 3 big entities fighting in the world. There's the Jewish people in the land of Israel. There's Edom, the descendants of Esau, the Christian world. And then there's the Muslims, right? So how do we reconcile all of this? Well, this lecture is going to tell you, basically. That's why this is such an, I mean, honestly, if I could tell you, listen to any of the lectures I've ever done or study anything, this is the one that's the most fascinating and the one that will, like, as you're watching the news every night, if you are, which is a waste, or you're reading something, this is going to tell you exactly what's going on right now. And who wins? Who wins? Okay? So the lion is referring to Babylonia. Okay? Jeremiah says, a lion has come up from its thicket. And he also says, like an eagle, he shall soar. So Jeremiah literally says the entire first part. There's a lion with like wings like an eagle. Jeremiah says specifically, this is the kingdom of Babylon. So we know that in Daniel's dream, the first beast that he sees is the lion. That is Babylonia. That is the first exile of the Jewish people. The second one was a bear. What does it say in the Gemara? It says right in the Talmud that the bear is Persia, the second exile, which will reign after Babylon. And we know this just based on Purim, right? It was the Persian Empire. They took over after Babylonia. It says in the Gemara, in the Talmud, that the Persians are compared to a bear. Why? They're restless like a bear. They eat and drink like a bear. They're hairy like a bear. And they're fleshy like a bear. Like they're fleshy like a bear. They're big. They're big people. They're big, strong people. That's what it says in the Gemara. The third one was what? I saw and beheld another one, like a leopard, and had 4 wings on its back, and the beast had 4 heads. Well, what is this referring to? We know that the third exile is Greece, Yavan, the Hanukkah story, right? But who was the leader then? Alexander of Macedonia, right? And he had 4 different generals below him. And when he died, he gave power and dominion. He gave different territories to these 4 generals, exactly like it says in Daniel, right? There's going to be 4. We'll read it again. The leopard had 4 wings of a bird on its back, and the beast had 4 heads. These are the 4, and it says specifically, and dominion was given it, meaning Alexander of Macedonia, the third exile, had 4 generals that he gave dominion and power to these 4 generals. One of them had the land of Israel. That is the Hanukkah story. So these 3 he dreamed on one night, it says. And then on another night, he saw the 4th beast. The 4th beast was a monster, right? Behold the 4th beast, awesome and dreadful and exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. Again, iron. Just like Nebuchadnezzar's dream. What was the 4th thing discussed? The legs and also the feet. Iron, right? So the number 4 in both dreams is consistent with iron. It ate and crushed and trampled the rest with its feet. It was different from all the other beasts. What is different with the 4th exile from all the other exiles? It hasn't ended yet. We know the first 3 exiles. Babylonia, Persia, Greece. They came, veni vidi vici. They came, they saw, they conquered, but they're gone. 4th one's not gone, right? When Jacob saw his dream, he saw angels going up, right? But then he saw one angel climbing higher and higher and higher and higher. And this ladder it didn't end. Why was he and he said he's fearful. Why was he fearful? We're not out of this 4th exile. We're still in exile. Even in Israel, we're still in exile. Do we have total control? Look at Netanyahu coming to grovel to Trump. Oh, we'll take away the tariffs. This and that. We want to thank America for their support. We want to thank Europe. We're like a vassal state. We're not a functioning, sovereign nation of Israel. We're going to be, but we're not yet. We are still in exile. Clearly, we're still in exile outside of the land of Israel. I mean, I'm in Florida now. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. I need to be here right now. Some of you know the story of why I'm here right now. But this isn't where let me just change that. This isn't where I'd like to be. Certainly not my home. We're in exile. This 4th exile did not end yet. That's why the beast that Daniel saw as number 4 is so great and so ferocious and so wicked and different from the other 3. We are still under the dominion of the 4th exile. We're not out of the exile. When will that exile end? When Mashiach comes. When the temple's built. Then this 4th beast will be no more. But we saw at the end of this, again, Hashem is saying that at the end, the high and holy ones will be saved. And the greatness of the kingdoms under all the heavens will be given to the people of the high and holy ones. That's the Jewish people, clearly. We are God's chosen people. We are the only people that are mentioned as Banim Hashem. We are the children of Hashem. And it says with the 4th one, it will devour the whole land and it will trample it. And it has 10 horns. What's the 10? The angel explained to him that there will be 10 kings who will ascend the throne of Rome before Vespasian, who destroyed the temple. There were 10 kings who ascended the throne of Rome before Vespasian, who was the one that destroyed the temple. Okay, so let's review. We have the book of Daniel, chapter 2 and chapter 7. There are two different dreams. One is a dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, that Daniel interpreted, and the second dream in chapter 7 was Daniel's own vision. They are both referring to the same thing. They both allude to the same exact topic, which are the 4 exiles that the Jewish people had. The gold and the lion are the same. The silver and the bear are the same. The copper and the leopard are the same, and the iron and that fourth beast, that vicious beast that Daniel says is different from all others, is the same. Okay? It's the same exact reference that we're talking about here. The question is, what in the world is this referencing? We know that it's referencing the exiles, but there has to be something deeper, because anyone can figure this out for themselves. Let's talk about 4 in the Torah. Okay, there's a few instances where 4 occur, and the sages say that each time that this is mentioned, it is alluding to the 4 exiles. I'm just going to mention them. We'll talk about them briefly, but it's, maybe I'll do another lecture on that. Maybe someone wants to sponsor a lecture on that. This stuff is fascinating, because you'll see themes, you'll see parallels in the Torah that they just continue over and over again. The first 4 in the Torah is, the earth was astonishingly empty, tohu vavohu. Darkness was on the face of the deep. So, tohu vavohu, astonishing and empty, darkness and deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the water. Rashi says these are referring to the 4 exiles. Then there are 4 headwaters coming out of the Garden of Eden. Right? Talks about 4 different headwaters that come out of the Garden of Eden. Then there's the war of the 4 kings versus the 5 kings. In the days when King Amraphel of Shinar, King Arioch of Elasar, King Kedar Laomer of Elam, and King Tidal of Goyim. 4 kings, again it's referencing the 4 exiles. Then 4 wells were dug by Yitzhak and his men, alluding again to the 4 exiles. 4 is very powerful in Judaism. We have 3 patriarchs. We have 4 matriarchs. There are 4 exiles. Right? Or is there something deeper? And this is why people listen to the lectures. Because we're not going to talk about stuff that anyone can just, pop in any Torah CD and listen to anywhere. We're going to get to the crux of the truth. That's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of our new Kiruv Foundation, Masada Rising, coming out soon. Are these 4 exiles really 4? And if we can discern that they're not 4, does that really unlock the secret to everything? And the answer is yes, it does. There are not 4 exiles. There are, in fact, 8 exiles. Okay? Before we talk about that, there is famous things in the Gemara that allude to the fact that there are going to be 2 nations standing at the end of days besides the Jewish people. They will be Edom and Paras. That is Esau and Yishmael. Okay? Esav and Yishmael. Esau and Ishmael. Does it mean that these are actually the physical descendants? No. This is spiritual descendants. These are people that embody everything that Esav and Yishmael stood for, meaning Edom and Paras, the Christian world and the Muslim world. That is what will last till the end of days, along with the Jewish people. And clearly we see this now. Okay? There is a very big, it's called machloket, disagreement in the Gemara. Who wins? Right? We know that one of these 2 needs to beat the other and then basically take on the Jewish people at the end. We'll get to that a little bit later. We have the Christian world, we have the Muslim world. We have the Western world, and we have Islam. That's basically how the world is broken up into now. But what we see something that's very interesting. We now see basically like a conglomeration of the 2. And is that supposed to scare the Jewish people? Yes. We are not supposed to mix an ox and a donkey. right? It says specifically in the Torah, do not plow with an ox and a donkey. And people say, this is why I don't want to learn Torah. It's so stupid. Who cares about an ox and a donkey? I drive a Prius. It's not talking about an ox and a donkey. It's talking about that for that day. But we don't drive oxes and donkeys. We don't plow with oxes and donkeys now. We have tractors. Obviously, it means something deeper, and it does. Esav is compared to an ox. Yishmael is compared to a donkey. Okay? We are not supposed to let the ox and the donkey come together. Meaning, when the Muslims and the Christians unite, it is a catastrophe for the Jewish people. It means that these two entities that hate each other a lot have basically come to the conclusion that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and we're better off being together. Rabbi Gladstein, who I got a lot of this lecture from, he gives a very famous story of his grandfather, Oliver Shalom, that was in Auschwitz. Eichmann was in Auschwitz, and he invited who? He invited the Mufti, right? So the Mufti comes to Auschwitz, and all of a sudden you had a mixing of Edom and Yishmael. And what did the grandfather say that they would do? They would parade Jews in front of them as they were sitting, like arm in arm like lovers, he says. You should have seen their faces. You can see this on, go to the History Channel. You can see when the Mufti comes to Auschwitz. And they used to hit Jews in the groin area so that they would never be able to procreate. And they would laugh. You should see their faces. They would just laugh. These miserable, disgusting monsters. Is there anywhere in the Torah that Esav and Yishmael came together? Yes. After Yaakov leaves and flees to go to Haran, Esav realized that his parents hated his wives because they were Canaanite wives. So what did he do? He also wanted to be loved. He went to Yishmael to marry Yishmael's daughter. But what does it say? It says that it mentions Yishmael's daughter and her brother. Why? Because Yishmael had already died. Why? Because Hashem took Yishmael from the world to prevent Esav and Yishmael from coming together. The sages say specifically, when Esav and Yishmael unite, they can destroy the entire world. These two opposing forces, and I have a lecture next week that is also going to be mind-blowing about what's the one thing that the Jewish people can do to keep them apart, to keep these two spiritual entities apart. I'm not going to ruin it. You'll just have to tune in next week. My good friend's sponsoring that lecture. When Esav and Yishmael get together, bad things happen. Where have we seen this recently? The 2015 Iran deal was the most illogical, stupid, ignorant, dumb, wicked, evil deal maybe in world history. You have an entity known as Iran nowadays. They have openly said that Israel is the little Satan, America is the big Satan. When they say America, they really mean the Western world, right? So the Western world comes to Iran and just grovels at their feet, gives them billions of dollars, every incentive under the sun, to just basically say publicly that they're not going to produce a nuclear bomb. That's basically what the deal was. They didn't have to dismantle their program like Libya did. And when Israel bombed, why are we stuck in this again? Trump just said yesterday that he has a meeting with Iran on Saturday to discuss, because they will not let Iran get nuclear weapons, right? So what do we see right now? We see exactly what I'm talking about in this lecture. Exactly the visions of Daniel and of Nebuchadnezzar from thousands of years ago playing out right now in 2025, the year 5785 in the Jewish world. On every screen in the world, we see a convergence of Edom and Yishmael that affects the Jewish people. The Torah is so archaic. It has no relevance to modern life. Really? I think I've done a pretty good job so far of proving that two dreams thousands of years ago clearly have, not only relevant, but are literally the story of our lives today. Who wins between Edom and Yishmael? We know that they come first. These two fight first. Right? Because spoiler alert, the Jewish people win at the end. Okay? I don't know how we get there. We have different clues. We know that we win. It's in both of these dreams. I mean, I literally said it. The stone is the Jewish people. The stone destroys these four empires. Daniel, in his vision, specifically says that the sons of the holy ones, meaning the Jewish people, win in the end. We know that we win in the end. But who are we fighting at the end? That's basically what this lecture is. Who wins? The Western world or the Muslim world? That's the fight now. I mean, every single day you're seeing Ahmed drives a car into a Xmas, festival in Munich or in Berlin or in Sweden or anywhere. Same thing happened in New Orleans, right? We're seeing this stuff play out over and over again. Trump literally bragged the other day, these Muslims from Yemen were gathering together in the open desert, and Trump just totally drone strike them. They're fighting right now. The whole world is basically just Muslims and Christians, the Western world, the Muslim world, back and forth, fighting. And we get roped in, but we know that we win in the end. We know this. We know this as Jews. Anyone telling you otherwise, is either an idiot or has no ability to even read the text. Every single prophet says the Jews win in the end. The Jews last till the end. We are God's chosen people. We come back to God in the end. I mean, how Christians can't see this is, it's like, they don't even know how to read, it seems like. Even in here, it talks about it. Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7. Who wins between Edom and Yishmael? And you'll say, well, why does this matter to me? Well, I'll tell you why. I'm in Florida right now. If Yishmael beats Edom, my family lives in America. A lot of your family probably lives in America. Or you live in America. Or in Europe. Or in Canada. You're the Western world. If Yishmael is the one that wins, you might want to consider getting out now. If Edom beats Yishmael, I got a little more time. Right? There's really not many Jews left in the Muslim world. 80 years ago, if I gave this lecture, people will say, okay, maybe if the Muslims win, I have more time. But, then the state of Israel was founded, and they left anyway. It's very relevant. The Torah is very relevant for you now. If you're sitting in LA right now watching this lecture, or you're in Toronto, or you're in London, or you're in Paris, you might want to know what's coming, and I'm about to tell you. There's 3 rabbis in the Gemara that give their opinions on who wins at the end. Let's review that. Rav Yehuda Nasi, and Rav Yehuda Bar Eli both say unequivocally that Edom falls to Paras. Meaning, the Western world will fall to the Muslim world. And you have to understand, at this point in time, especially in the Torah, when it's talking about, let me get to this part. I was going to wait a little bit, but this is important. When it's talking about Yishmael, it says he will be a wild donkey of a man, Parah Adam. I've done probably 1 million lectures on this. His hand will be upon all, and everyone's hand upon him. Right? We clearly see this now. Right? We clearly see this now. Rebbe and Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eli both say that Edom falls to Paras, but Rav says differently. Paras falls to Edom. So this is what's called the machloket. There is a disagreement in the Talmud between rabbis. How do we know which one is right? How do we know who wins? The secret to all of this is found in Chad Gadya, right? That cute little song that we sing at the end of Pesach with the goat and the cat and the dog and the stick and the fire and the water and the butcher and the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death. And people sing it and kids know it, and it's like, but do you realize I'm about to show you that this is literally, so people, where did it come from? Why is this cute song? Maybe we can skip it. Who cares about this dog and cat or whatever? No, this is literally the secret that uncovers everything. I'm about to give you like a treasure chest that you're going to open, and this amazing light's about to come out. There are not 4 exiles. There are 8 exiles. Okay? Each of the 4 exiles is broken up into 2. Clearly, this would explain why the feet of this iron also include clay in the feet. Okay? The 4th exile is not just what we think it is, and that's the important one. The other 3, we know, are already gone. We are focused on the 4th one. Is the 4th one what we think it is and what we've learned our whole lives? The answer is no, it is not. There are 8 exiles. Many Rebbeim have talked about it. But if you want someone modern that talked about it, Rav Kanievsky talks about it. And he quotes Rashi. Okay? There are not 4 exiles. There are 8 exiles. Each of the 4 exiles, and what are they? Again, Babylonia, Bavel, Persia, Paras, Yavan, Greece, and Edom, Rome. Those are what we think are the 4 exiles. Babylonia, Persia, Greece, and Rome. And Rome is what we're under to this day, right? We are still basically under the control of the Western world. We're still exiled in the Western world. Okay. But now we're learning that each of these exiles is split into 2. Okay? Bavel is not just Bavel. It is Bavel and Kasdim. Babylonia and the Chaldeans. Okay? I'm just going to go through them and I'll give you the proofs. Paras is not just Paras, it is Madai and also Paras, Media that we talk about in the Torah, and also Paras, Persia. Then there is Mukdan and Yavan. Mukdan is Macedonia, and then there's Yavan, which is Greece. And then there is Rome, and then there is Yishmael. Right? That's the one we need to focus on. The 4th exile is not just Rome, which is what everybody thinks, other than the Ibn Ezra, who actually said that the 4th exile, also Rav Sadi Gaon, said that the 4th exile is actually Yishmael. But everybody else says that the 4th exile is Rome. And now we're learning, no. Rashi says it's not, and it makes perfect sense when you think about it. The 4th exile is not just Rome. It is also Rome, and it's also Paras. It's also Yishmael. But which one comes first? Which one comes last? Which one wins? Which one loses? Which one will be the ones that basically control the world, that fight the Jewish people at the end? That's what we're about to look at. So if you wear a toupee, hold it. Fasten your seatbelts. This will be pretty mind-blowing. Before we get to Chad Gadya, let's think of the proofs for the 8 exiles. Okay? We'll get to Chad Gadya. Chad Gadya talks about, I'll read the story sort of like briefly. In Chad Gadya, there's Chad Gadya, which is basically like a lamb. The lamb is the Jewish people in this story. The father bought for 2 zuzim, right? The father bought this Chad Gadya for the lamb for 2 zuzim. The father is Hashem, and the 2 zuzim are the 2 sets of 5 commandments. Those are the 10 commandments. We accepted the Torah. We are now basically the property of Hashem. Hashem came, it says the Abba came and bought for 2 zuzim, which are the 2 luchot, the two tablets, the Jewish people. Then it says a cat came and ate the goat. And then a dog came and bit the cat. And then a stick came and beat the dog. And then a fire came and burnt the stick. And then the water came and quenched the fire. And then an ox came and drank the water. And then a butcher came and slaughtered the ox. And then an angel of death came and he killed the butcher. That is Chad Gadya. There are 10 entities of Chad Gadya. There is the lamb, which is the Jewish people. There is the Abba. Then there is the cat, the dog, the stick, the fire, the water, the ox, the butcher, and the angel of death, the Malach HaMavet. Okay? The 8 represent the 8 exiles. The Jewish people is the lamb, Hashem is the Abba, and then the other 8 reference the 8 exiles. This is not just a cute story. This is literally the secret to not just Jewish history, but the future. Okay? So let's delve into this. Let's find the proofs for what I'm saying. I don't say anything without being able to back it up. If I give you my opinion, I'll tell you. But this is not opinion. This is Torah. The cat is the first of the 8. Why? The cat is the first exile, Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar is literally called a cat by Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah. It says that he is like a cat. Okay, so the prophet Isaiah literally is saying exactly what I'm saying right now. Then there's the dog. And who are the dogs? Kazdim, right? Every exile is broken up into 2. If you're coming in now, you're watching this now, go back to the beginning because this is a mind-blowing lecture and you really have to hear it all in its entirety. The cat is Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. The dog is Kazdim, the Chaldeans, right? Who is Vashti in the Purim story? She was Chaldean. What does it say? That Achashverosh told her to come in naked to show that the Kazdim women are the most beautiful. And why is it a dog specifically? It says specifically that Belshazzar, right? Belshazzar turned into the dog, right? This is in Daniel. Then there's Madai. Madai is the stick in this story of Chad Gadya. Why? It says that Darius and the other person, they used a stick to beat the brains of Belshazzar. The Midrash says that the stick was actually the ornamental parts of the menorah that they used to beat Belshazzar to death. Okay? Then there's Paras. Paras is Achashverosh. Paras in this story is the fire. Why? It says specifically that his anger burned like a fire. Right? Then there's Mukdan, Alexander the Great. This is the water in the story of Chad Gadya. Why? It says specifically in the Gemara and Talmud that they sprinkled themselves with arayot, meaning like sins of the eye, like water. Then there's grease. After the water, it says that the ox comes and drinks the water. The ox is in the Hanukkah story, right? What are the Jewish people were obligated to do by the Greeks? They were obligated to hang a sign on the ox that said, "We do not have a share in the God of Israel." And then he says that Rome, Edom, the Western world, is the Shochet, right? In the Gemara and Pesachim it says that Rome, Edom, like Shechs, the tzaddikim, the righteous, like a Shochet, right? And then the last one is the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death. And the Bereshit Rabbah says what? That Yishmael is not interested in anything. They don't care about money. They don't care about plunder. They don't care about anything. They just want to kill. Is that understandable in the Muslim world currently? I mean, did you see what they did on October 7th? You know, they didn't loot people. They didn't try to get money. They just wanted to kill, just for the sake of killing, and in very, very disturbing ways. So again, the crux of this lecture is that they're not just 4 exiles. Those 4 exiles are actually divided into 8 exile. Each exile that we think we know of is actually 2 separate entity exiles that make up that one exile. So we'll go through them again, because I want to make things clear. And please listen to this lecture again and again, because I will say this honestly. Thousands of lectures I've listened to on this topic, and I still don't even know 1% of 1% of 1% of anything. I know a lot on this topic, but this is the kind of topics that people can get very interested in Judaism in. That's why I focus on this, because people love hearing about the end of times. If I'm going to come here and give lectures on leprosy and whatever, I don't think I can make so many people want to love the Torah. But a lecture like this, I know that I can make people love the Torah. That's why I focus on things like this. Because this is exciting. This is interesting. This is stuff you just turn on Fox News and you can see this unfolding. Not that I'm telling you to do that, but you can see this stuff unfolding around you right now, currently, literally on Saturday. This coming Shabbos, there's going to be a meeting, and I think Oman, between America and Iran, Edom and Paras, right? Esav and Yishmael. Who's going to win? According to this, the Muslims win at the end. Yishmael wins. Why? Let's talk about it again. Chad Gadya. Each thing comes and like conquers the one before it, right? So the cat is conquered by the dog eats the cat. The stick beats the dog. The fire burns the stick. The water takes out the fire. The ox comes and drinks the water. The shochet, the butcher, the slaughterer, comes and slaughters the ox. And then the angel of death comes and even slaughters the shochet. So clearly, the last thing in this... Oh, and then it says at the end that the Father comes and kills the Malach HaMavet. Meaning that Hashem, at the end, reigns supreme. I left that part out. So the age-old question is, who is the Shochet and who is the Malach HaMavet? Right? We're only concerned in this lecture about the fourth of the exiles. Okay? The first three are already gone. We made it through the Babylonian exile. We came back to Israel and built the second temple. We made it through the Greeks. Right? They didn't knock down the temple. That was just an exile that we suffered through, but then we won in the Hanukkah story. The fourth exile we're still in. We're still mired in the fourth exile. But now we're learning that the fourth exile is not what we think it is. It's a dual exile. Daniel even says it. The feet, right? It says in Daniel's first dream, Nebuchadnezzar's first dream, that a stone, which represents the Jewish people, comes and specifically hits the feet first. Why? Because that's the end. That's the end times, right? The top, the gold, was Nebuchadnezzar. He's gone. He's dead. The Babylonian exile is gone. This part was silver. Persia. They're gone. They're gone. We don't have to worry about Persia anymore. The belly and the thighs, that's the copper part. They're gone. We don't have to worry about that anymore. The legs are the iron, but then the feet were the iron and the clay. And the stone specifically hit the feet. So let's focus on the feet. We just did. The feet are the fact that there's two entities at the end of times that are battling each other, not the Jewish people. And we see this now. Who exactly in this Chad Gadya story, that is not just a cutesy little story that we say when we're already 4 cups of wine into the night and we're about to pass out and it's, can we get through Chad Gadya? No, Chad Gadya is literally the secret to everything. If you would open your mind and just see and learn this specific topic. At the end, there is a shochet that shechs the ox, and then the Malach HaMavet takes the life of the shochet. But which one's which? Which one is Edom? Which one's Paras? Which one's Esav? Which one's Yishmael? Which one's the Christian world? Which one's the Muslim world? Who wins at the end between these two entities? That is a very major thing that we need to know. Why are we called in the Middle East? We are literally between the Muslim world and the Christian world. Everything the Jewish people are, we are sandwiched in between. Part of what I'm going to talk about next week, a little teaser. Muslims have their Sabbath on Friday. Christians have their Sabbath on Sunday. Again, we're in the middle. Muslims only use the lunar calendar. Christians only use the solar calendar. We use both. Again, we're in the middle. Pesach always has to be in the spring. We are sandwiched, suctioned between these two entities. It's in Daniel's dreams so clearly. But it's also in the Chad Gadya. And now we have to figure out who exactly is the Shochet and who exactly is the Malach HaMavet. Okay, let's get to the answer. Upon his return to Eretz Israel, Yaakov sends a message to Esav, right? Yaakov is away for 22 years. He was at the house of Lavan. There he had all of his kids. 11 of the kids were born when he was in Haran with Lavan, and then Binyamin was born along the way. He worked 7 years for Leah, 7 years for Rachel, 6 years for the cattle, came home, another 2 years until he actually went back home. So 22 years Yaakov was away. Upon his return, he sent a message to Esav, and he says, I have an ox and a donkey. You haven't seen your brother or your sister or someone that you love for 22 years, right? And this person also wants to kill you. Let's just, tell that part too. And you send a text message, right? You're on WhatsApp. Let's see, I haven't seen him in 22 years. What's the first thing I want to say to him? Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm back in Israel, and I have an ox and a donkey. I mean, this is just the beauty of Torah, that in this sentence is literally, again, I could live for 1,000,000 years, and I could give a shear on this one sentence forever, and not even scratch the surface. What's the ox and what's the donkey, right? Well, we know this answer. Who's the ox? Joseph. Who's the donkey? David, King David. How do we know that? What does it say about Joseph when Yaakov's giving him the blessing, right? Ben Parat Yosef, Ben Parat Ale Ayin, Benot Saada Al Shor, right? Shor is an ox. Yaakov's own blessing to his own son, he calls Yosef an ox. Okay? He likens him to an ox. I believe there's 5 of the brothers were likened to different animals, Benjamin's likened to a wolf, Naphtali to a deer. Yosef specifically is likened to an ox. Okay? What about King David? King David, David HaMelech. What does it say about him? And Zechariah 9:9, it says that the ultimate Messiah, meaning a descendant of King David, Mashiach ben David, who will arrive as a pauper riding on a donkey. Okay? So when Yaakov comes back and he's like, okay, I'm going to WhatsApp Esav. Okay, I have an ox and a donkey. And that's supposed to scare Esav. Why? Because he's telling him, I have the 2 messiahs on my side now. I have Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. And you're thinking, I've never heard about the second Mashiach. We'll talk about that in a second. That is the message he sent to his brother. That is the message he sent to his brother. Do not try to start up with me. I'm coming for peace, but I will kill you. I already overcame your angel. I have an ox and a donkey. He's not telling him that he has an ox and a donkey. He's telling him, I have Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. There's nothing you can do about it. You can fight, but in the end, I now have exactly what I needed, exactly what I left Eretz Israel for, exactly why I was in Haran all these years, and now I have it. When did Yaakov leave Lavan? After the birth of Levi? No. After the birth of Naphtali? No. He left after the birth of Yosef. Why? Because he had his ox now. And what is Esav likened to? Esav is also likened to an ox. And what is Yishmael likened to? In the story of Esav is described as a man of the field and as hairy. And very, very, very strong. Parallels the ox. What about Yishmael? Why is he compared to a donkey? Abraham tells Yishmael and Eliezer, when he's going up to sacrifice Yitzchak, Isaac, on the Temple Mount, on Har HaBayit, he says to Yishmael, stay here with the donkey. He's conveying to him, since you did not see the vision that I saw up on the mountain, it says so specifically in the Torah, You have the spiritual capacity of a donkey. Esav is the ox, Yishmael is the donkey. But we also have an ox and a donkey. Hence, I just found out that my cousin is having surgery tomorrow. So this lecture will also be in the schut of my cousin. Sharn Yehudit Bat Davorle. I've davened for every day, actually. All right, see, that's nice. See, now we have an entire... And so many people are going to listen to this lecture. You'll see. This will be one of the more watched ones, I hope. God willing. Esav is compared to an ox. Yishmael is compared to a donkey. The first thing that Yaakov says to his brother, he sends messengers and tells them, I have an ox and a donkey. And my ox and donkey are way more powerful than your ox and donkeys. Right? I'm way more powerful than you and your uncle Yishmael. Because I now have Yosef and I have Yehuda, who is the progenitor of King David, who is the progenitor of Mashiach. Right? Now, how can we figure out who's the Shochet and who's the Malach Mavet? Right? Which one is number 9 in the story? No, number 7 in the story? And which one's number 8? Right? We talk about that there's 4 exiles, but there are really 8 exiles. And we are now in the 4th exile. So the only thing that we are focusing on this lecture are basically who is 7 and who is 8. Because each, number before it is something that is no longer, right? Number 2 came and took away number 1. Just like in the story of Chad Gadia. The dog came and, shoot away the cat, right? There's 2 characters in Chad Gadia. There is the Shochet, the butcher, and then there's the angel of death, the Malach Mavet. We know that there's 2 kingdoms standing at the end of times. There is Esav and there is Yishmael. Who's which? Okay? Who's the ox and who's the donkey? Esav is the donkey. Esav is the ox. Yishmael is the donkey. We also have an ox and a donkey, right? We have Yosef. Yosef is Mashiach ben Yosef, right? We know that Mashiach ben Yosef comes first, and he destroys someone. Who does he destroy? According to Rav Kanievsky, according to, Chad Gadia, according to Rebbe, and according to Rav Yehuda Bar Eli, and according to the Vilna Gaon, Esav is the one that is destroyed first. Esav is not the last man standing. Esav is the donkey. Esav is the ox. Yosef is the ox. Mashiach ben Yosef, we know, comes before Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben David is the Mashiach that will come at the end to usher in the Messianic world for the Jewish people. The entire goal, and it even says so in Avadia, that the house of Esav is straw, right? And that says that Yitzchak's the fire and Yosef is the torch. So we know that Yosef's entire job is to destroy. Yosef's entire job is to destroy Esav. Joseph destroys Esau. Esau is no longer, but his descendants are. They are either actual physical descendants or just spiritual descendants. That is the Western world. The Western world will be destroyed before Islam is destroyed, according to this. According to different rabbis in the Gemara, according to Rav Kanievsky, according to the Vilna Gaon, and according to the text. The Western world will fall first. The Western world is the Shochet. They are the butcher. They are not the Malach Mavet, according to this. And at the end, we will talk about why this makes perfect logical sense. Then, there is Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben David he's likened to a donkey. It says a pauper will come riding on a donkey. Yishmael is also called a donkey. Ox fights ox, donkey fights donkey. Mashiach ben David will be the one that destroys the other donkey. The other donkey is left for last. The last part of this Chad Gadia puzzle is the Malach HaMavet, which is, according to Bereshit Rabbah, Yishmael. Because Yishmael wants nothing other than to murder. That is the secret of all of this. There are 4 exiles, but they are really 8 exiles. 6 of the exiles we don't have to worry about anymore. They're long gone. 7 and 8 we do have to worry about because we're in them right now. We are in this exile. Daniel talks about it in his dream as a ferocious beast, different from the others. Big, strong, teeth of iron. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream that the bottom part is iron, right? But the feet are iron and clay, meaning there's 2 different entities on the bottom. We see this now. The world is basically divided up into 3 players currently. There are the Jewish people, there is the Western world, and there is the Islamic world. This is what every single prophecy has been talking about. The last man standing for Mashiach ben David to destroy, according to this, is the Muslim world, is the Islamic world. How can we see this now? Has anybody seen Sweden or Finland or Belgium or the Netherlands or the UK or Paris or Canada recently? Do these look like what they looked like 50 years ago? They do not. Why? There's only one thing that's changed in 50 years. They have been flooded with Muslims. Europe is no longer Europe. Europe will fall very, very fast. And like Gaddafi said, we won't even have to fire a shot. Our birth rate alone and the stupidity of the Western world and their liberal, moral, narshkeit, catastrophes, we will just take over without firing a shot. When millions and millions and millions of able-bodied 20 to 30-year-old males were fleeing Syria in 2015 when ISIS came, who took them in? The Western world. Not a question asked. These people need a home, we're happy to give it. Murders, thefts, rapes, all skyrocketed unequivocally in the last 10 years. We are now 10 years in to this experiment known as unchecked Islamic immigration. Every single country that they go to, they destroy. And the best part is, they are open that every single country that they go to, they want to destroy. They don't hide it. It's what I really respect about them. They literally will get off a train 10 years ago in Germany, singing a song in Arabic that we are here to conquer Germany. And then you see stupid, liberal, white German girls, giving them hugs, welcoming to the country as the Muslims are getting off the train laughing, knowing that the Western world is so stupid, so illogical, so demented, that they are inviting in their own death. The butcher in the story of Chad Gadya is the Western world, according to Rav Kanievsky, and according to the Vilna Gaon, and according to many, many, many others. They are not the last ones standing, and we see this now. We see that Islam is going into every single country that they touch, specifically Africa. Almost every single African nation, they come in, they hit a certain population percentage, and then they just unleash hell on the countries that welcome them in. We see it in America. We saw what they did at Grand Central Station yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago. Literally took over the entire, screaming, Islamic chants and supporting Hamas. We see it with all the Hezbollah support. We see it with the world hating us after October 7th. If there was ever anything righteous that the world should unite for to support, it is Israel eliminating terror. They do not. They do not. The Muslim world and the Western world have this disgusting unity because they hate the Jewish people so much. But unfortunately, and really it's unfortunate for the Western world, they're not going to win in the end, according to this. They are not the last ones standing. The Islamic world is the last one standing. And we see this so many times. Trump comes into power. He has specifically said he will not let Iran get nuclear weapons. But Trump has very close ties to Qatar and to Saudi Arabia. We don't know what's coming in the next. We know the end game. Do I know for sure 100% that, Edom is the shoched? It seems to be that way. Because we know that Mashiach ben Yosef comes first. And Rav Kanievsky says, he can't even, the Vilna Gaon, says he can't even fathom that anybody would think that it's not Paras is the last man standing. Right? Mashiach ben David comes. He is the donkey. Yishmael is the donkey. This seems to be pretty clear-cut. This is a mind-blowing new way to look at everything. It's not something I made up. Everything I said today is sourced. Everything I said today, the biggest rabbis of all time have said. It's just not something that we're learning so much because everyone is so focused on the 4 exiles. But it's not 4 exiles. It's 8 exiles. And we are mired right now between 7 and 8. But 7 and 8, they're not done yet. They're fighting each other right now. Trump is bombing Yemen. Muslims are driving cars into Xmas markets in Berlin. They are fighting each other. Of course, they're also fighting us and doing harm to us. But at some point, it's going to come to a head. And one of these 2 wicked enemies of the Jewish people will triumph over the other. I am telling you, from everything that I've learned, it is Yishmael that will triumph over Esav. Rav Kanievsky is saying it. Rashi's, alluding to it. The Vilna Gaon is saying it. And we see it unfolding now. Look at Europe. Look at Canada. Countries, look at Michigan. Look at these places. Look at Minnesota. My mom's from Minnesota. She cannot fathom that her beautiful city of Minneapolis, where she was born, has turned into a third world Somali Muslim hellhole because of the stupidity of the Western world. And that's what it is. It is Yishmael openly saying, we are coming to your country to destroy you. And then we have Edom saying, please come to our country. No, you don't really mean it. Once you see that there's, nice supermarkets or whatever, you're going to become westernized. But they do not. They do not. Look at what's happening on the streets of Paris and London and Amsterdam and Brussels. Pure and utter chaos. And it's all things that were talked about in the Torah and Daniel's dreams. This cutesy little story of Chad Gadya, which isn't just a cutesy little story. Things don't just become part of the Jewish people because they're cutesy. This story of the goat, the Abba, the cat, the dog, the stick, the fire, the water, the ox, the shochet, and the Malach HaMavet is the story of Jewish history and Jewish future. It is past, it is present, and it is future. And according to this, at some point, Yishmael will ultimately triumph over Edom, over Esav. The Western world will officially crumble. And then that 4th exile, which is what we're learning, the 8th of the 8th sections of the exile, will be the Jewish people in the Islamic world. And if you're watching the news, if you've seen anything that happened in the last, 10, 20, 30 years, you can see how easily this makes sense. It is literally the stories unfolding in front of our eyes on the news and in the newspapers and on social media every single day. Muslims make no secret about their goal. They want to conquer the world. And they get their most amount of help from these stupid idiots in the Western world that literally just roll out the red carpet for them to come in and hasten their own demise. Wow. Gosh. Now, I was researching this the last few days, and I did a little bit this morning, and I was just thinking, wow, this is just going to be, this is just, isn't it mind-blowing? I mean, honestly, if you're just tuning in now, or you've missed bits and pieces of this, please go back to the beginning. Please listen to this whole lecture. Someone just commented, my good friend Malcolm, just said, wow, I'm blown away, excellent share. And I actually told her, because I was messaging with her like 10 minutes before the share, and I told her, at about 12:30, please get online. You have, because she listens to, I think, all my lectures. You have to listen to this lecture. It will blow someone, I mean, she's a girl, so she doesn't have a toupee. I said, it will be a toupee blowing off lecture. And it is. It is. You're learning that there's not 4 exiles. There's actually really 8. And of part, 4, between 7 and 8, which one's 7, which one's 8? Right? In the story of Chad Gadia, which one's the last? Who's the last man standing? Which is the one that Hashem comes and destroys at the end of Chad Gadia? Who's the last man standing? According to this, it's Yishmael. Who are the Jewish people going to ultimately triumph over? Who does Mashiach ben David come and specifically fight? According to this, it's Yishmael. And as, the months or the days or the years go by, and you start seeing more and more population growth in Europe and in America is, Muslims are having 6, 7 kids in Europe, and Europeans, they're not even having one. Some of these countries are down to a birth rate of, it'll blow your mind. They're just not having kids. Specifically, like in the UK. These Muslims come in, and they're given thousands of pounds, or whatever they have, a month. Free homes. They literally are just like fast forwarding their own demise. I've never seen anything like it. I just listened to a clip today of Jordan Peterson just saying, I've never seen anything. Also, Douglas Murray talks about it. It is absolutely mind-blowing to anyone with a brain who has a drop of common sense that the Western world would literally roll out the red carpet for enemies that come in and say that they will destroy the country from within. And this is what we're living through right now. But thankfully, in the dreams of Nebuchadnezzar and the dreams of Daniel, and also in Chad Gadia, we realize that as Jews, we win in the end, and we will make it to the end. If you listen to my other lectures, go on my wall, listen to the other lectures. How do we know that we as individual Jews will make it to the end if we're alive at that time? You got to keep Shabbos, you got to keep kosher, you got to learn Torah. Everything is in the learning of the Torah. Judaism is not a hobby. It's not a side gig. It's not something you do on weekends. It is the crux and the essence and the foundation of every single thing that we do in Judaism. I want to thank my sponsor. He just told me today that after Pesach, he wants to do another one. I honestly, because I know that he can't listen to it now, I cannot wait to get his feedback. I told him today when he said, I'm hoping that I'm expecting pure fire. I said it's even beyond that, because I know that it is. I know that this lecture is absolutely just mind-blowing. And you want to know why? Because I've listened to probably 10,000 different lectures on this exact topic. That's how exciting it is. And I hope that I did a good enough job of condensing it into whatever it is, an hour and a half. If anyone has any questions, if anyone would like to sponsor a lecture, I am unfortunately now a single father raising a child. My wife passed away. The only thing that I really want to do right now is just learn Torah and then give it over to the people. My charitable foundation will be coming out probably in about 2 weeks. Hopefully the website will be ready. I'm just finishing editing my book. It's called Cocaine to Amen. And once that's done, I will kick off the whole foundation with anybody can read that book for free. I'm not charging anything. I really want people to read this. I think if they do, they will learn a lot. They'll be able to come closer to Hashem. The goal is mitzvot. I want to get the most amount of mitzvot that I can in this world. Thank you so much to my anonymous sponsor. Thank you so much to Apex Custom for sending me just an unbelievable, beautiful pinstripe suit. Go to their website, apexcustom.com. It's an unbelievable new thing. You can get a custom fitted suit. All you have to do is go into the program on their phone. You get fitted every single dimension that you need, and it comes out looking amazing like this. If anyone is interested in sponsoring a lecture, please just message me. We can talk about any topic that you want, or I'll pick one. And let's invest in eternity together. I'm wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful day.